Welcome back to another edition of the C-Score Power Rankings as we head into Week 9 of the 2024 NFL season. You won't find another power ranking system quite like this on YouTube or anywhere else for that matter, because we're ranking these teams based on their C-Score, this channel's metric for determining the quality of each and every team during the Super Bowl era, and this season is clearly no exception. For a more detailed explanation of how C-Score works, be sure to check out the description of this video. One thing is for sure, we're not just doing this based on a team's record. Otherwise, we would just post the NFL standings and read them off. We're all just a little bit better than that. We're not quite halfway home on the 2024 season, but many teams have completed their 8th game. We're starting to get a clearer picture of just who are the haves and who are the have-nots. But there's still movement around the board. Of course, every team still has more time remaining in the season than has elapsed on them. So there's still a chance for some teams to turn it around and perhaps for other teams to falter. Every team starts the season with a C-score of 0.000. So there are no preconceived notions installed into a team's current ranking. We don't know the future, no one does, but we do know the past. So based on an evaluation of all the action through Week 8 and nothing more, as we take a moment to thank you for joining us, here are all 32 NFL teams ranked from worst to first. Starting with the bottom 8, we see that all these teams remain the same, just in a slightly different order. The bottom 3 teams, Carolina, New England, and Miami, all improved their C-score, but not enough to surpass any other teams. Tennessee dropped after the beating they took against the Lions, while Cleveland saw a good C-score benefit and a moderate ranking benefit by upsetting the Ravens. The Arizona Cardinals are the best team in our next group of 8 at 17th, and they have the highest C-score among all the teams in the negative. The Saints continue plummeting downward, taking a 6th straight loss and coming in at 21st. Most of these teams are just dancing around each other, but the team really making moves are the Rams. A bottom 8 team not too long ago, they are now further away from the bottom 8 than they are to the top half of the countdown. Speaking of the top half of the countdown, we see a lot of stagnation here as well. That is except for the Baltimore Ravens, who take the biggest tumble this week of 6 spots all the way down to number 12. We mentioned before how their loss to the Raiders was hurting them. Now a loss to the Browns adds another unwanted blemish to their resume. The Bears have, to date, played the league's easiest schedule, but their overall performance does keep them in at number 14. But more on them in just a moment. We do see a bit of a chasm between the Ravens at number 12 and the 49ers at number 13. The Philadelphia Eagles are the only new team in the top 10 at number 10, displacing the Ravens. The Broncos may have won this week, but just sharing a field with the Panthers is enough to bring down their C-score. But coming in here at number 6 are the Washington Commanders. Their game with the Bears will be played and replayed for at least the rest of the season because of that ending. But the last few minutes of that game before was a bit of a clown show. The Commies had a 4th and very short into 4th quarter, and yes, it was deep in their own territory. But after getting that gift of a fumble at the goal line, they should have gone for it. Had they succeeded, they would have kept the ball. Had they failed, they would still have been in better shape than they were a few minutes earlier, and had they allowed a touchdown, they would have had way more time to respond than they wound up with after eventually allowing that touchdown. Then we have the Bears, who allowed the Commies free yardage on the second to last play of the game, setting up a more manageable Hail Mary situation. And boy did they hork that up completely. You either swat the ball away as hard as you can, or you knock it straight to the ground. A glancing tip not only doesn't help, it can actively hurt, and naturally that's what happened. Noah Brown appears to be a veteran of the 3 flies up wars, and he clearly remembered his training, hanging out behind the pile to make the easiest catch anyone can ever make. We don't do much if any game analysis in this countdown, but this one felt necessary, as it was oddly a game that neither team deserved to lose, but that neither team really deserved to win either. Okay, back to the countdown with our biggest riser of the week coming in at number 5 in the Buffalo Bills. They moved up 5 spots and are once again looking like a true Super Bowl contender for what seems like the 93rd consecutive season. Their C-score sits at 18.281, but their division will do them no favors going forward. They're just going to have to perform on the field, and we've seen how well they can do just that. Hanging in at number 4 are the Pittsburgh Steelers with their C-score of 18.32. This will be a very unpopular opinion because the NFL MVP award somehow became a quarterback-only award with occasional cameos from running backs. But the leading candidate for MVP this season has to be TJ Watt. I don't know every single stat, and I kinda don't care, but no one player has more of an impact on his team and their success than Watt, and he does it without the ball in his hands. Except, for those times where he takes it away from the offense. And to think he's still only the second greatest football player of all time in his own family. The mighty have finally fallen. After a 2-game losing streak, the Minnesota Vikings dropped from their perch at number 1 all the way down to number 3 with their C-score of 21.453. The Rams may be on the rise, but it's still not a great loss for Minnesota, the controversial ending of that game notwithstanding. They've still played a tough schedule and have never looked properly bad at any point this season. They will need to improve on the 61 points they've allowed over the past 2 games. Perhaps the Colts offer that elixir this coming week. They're undefeated, but they only move up 1 spot to number 2. The Kansas City Chiefs are sporting a C-score of 21.607, and there is no question that they're led by their ferocious defense. They're currently 5th in the NFL in points allowed per game, but the teams ahead of them, the Chargers, Steelers, Broncos, and Bears, have all played easier schedules, in some cases substantially easier. The 2-time defending champions keep plodding along, and the one thing about them that is undisputed is that they have the league's only undefeated record. But the other thing that is undisputed, at least around these parts, is that the Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL as it stands right now. And they have the C-score to prove it at 33.455. Nearly 12 points ahead of the Chiefs. After lingering in the second spot last week, Detroit has put its stamp on the league, becoming the first team to reach a positive 100-point differential, and they've done it in just 7 games. One may argue they're blowing out lesser teams, but that's what dominant football teams do. If the Chiefs could have beat the Raiders by 38 points, they would have. They're just not that team at the moment. The Lions are, and a single 4-point loss doesn't alter that. 5 of their remaining 10 games are against what just about anyone would consider the best division in football, so they will have the chance to prove their worth going forward. Here is the entire ranking as a whole. We definitely went long this week, so we won't dawdle here. Let us know your thoughts about anything you have on your mind down in the comments section below. Be sure to check out this channel's other offerings, new video this Friday, new power rankings next week. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and ding the bell for all future notifications. Thank you once again for joining us today. And until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.